Redditors who work at remote places like forest officers, oil rig workers, etc. What creepy things have you noticed while at work? I was on a boat sitting on anchor in a secluded bay in the early hours in southeast Alaska a few years ago. I stepped outside for a smoke and all of a sudden I heard the most horrific sounds of a wild animal being murdered by another wild animal. It went on for probably 10 minutes. I know it's just nature, but man, I can still hear that sound in my brain and it haunts me. You guys, this is my highest voted comment of all time, beating out my post of a boiled yam in Usher Tifford porn. There's a reason why nature documentaries usually play music instead of the recorded sound during hunting scenes. Any idea what animal was eating what? That is really scary. I tried to decipher the animal but I couldn't. In that area there are wolves, wolverines, deer, brown and black bear, otters, foxes, mink, marten, ermine, and a handful of others. It sounded like a medium-sized animal. Working on ships, there was one night I was on a ship sailing through Alaskan waters, and it happened to be my first night ever seeing northern lights. I can't believe how awesome that was. It made the sky clear, made the night look like it was dusk. We were able to see clearly for miles. Few buddies and I hit the roof, or what we call Lido deck, at 1 AM just to gaze at it. An hour or so in, there were 6 of us on top, nearly the entire crew now. A big white spotlight shines at us. We were near land, but where the spotlight was above the water and it wasn't low enough to be on a ship. This was very high up. It shined on us for about 15-20 seconds. Once the light turned off we looked to see what it was. Saw nothing. No trace of an aircraft or anything. Couple minutes go by and the same light shined on us. This time it was on the other side of our vessel, above mountains. Still, unable to see what it was. We all saw it. We all have never seen any aircrafts hovering above these waters, especially at 2 AM. We don't know what it was. We think it might have been some sort of silenced aircraft the military was probably doing drills or something. But anyways, that was one of the weirder things to happen out on the ocean. Meanwhile, a drone operator stationed somewhere in Germany snickers. I used to work in the Gulf of Mexico on oil rigs for years, and it may not exactly be creepy, but I found it really unsettling. In deep, open water, the water itself is really clear, so everyone can plainly see all the tuna and barracudas hanging around the rig waiting for the onboard cook to throw off whatever food waste he needs to. Every once in a while a huge great white shark would swim up from underneath and snatch a tuna, and it really took like less than a second. They're really scary. I worked for a guy that spearfished underneath the rigs out in the Gulf. He said it was perfect since there were tons of fish underneath, and the sharks would never go between the legs, just wait for a fish to leave. Plus the view was amazing, looking down and seeing nothing but abyss. He loved it. I can only imagine how scared I would be. Imagining that made my ass take a bite out of my chair. I was on guard duty at Camp Phoenix on the outskirts of Kabul in 2011. It's a 12-hour shift and it started at 7 PM. Around 2 AM, I could hear what sounded like footsteps running all around the guard tower. Promptly set my ass hairs on end, so I pull out my night vision and pray that it's some kids or something. I shit you not, there must have been 2 or 3 pairs of dogs humping each other at the same time. Edit. Y'all are messed up asking for the photo, man. Who do you think I am? Of course I will. https://imgur.com/gallery/L2CMC9H. Disclaimer. Most of these photos are mine. Some are not, but from people in my unit, and some contain very meaningful and impactful backstories. Serious, it's all safe for work also. I buried the dogs in like 150 photos, so good luck you sick bastards. Edit 2. Another link due to the interest. Mongolians and the French. https://imgur.com/gallery/I4J9L0H. I worked night shift at a prison for years. The one thing that really creeps you out is when a hit is put on someone in the middle of the night. Inmates code says it is kept as quiet as possible. No one says a damn word. The only thing you'll hear are grunts and moans from the victims. Then, it goes and stays silent. If you hear it happening, it's already too late to stop it. It'll be over before you pull your keys out. Occasionally, if someone needs medical attention, the first sign we got was an inmate approaching the bar saying they need to go to medical, and are usually bleeding or nonchalant. The creepy ones are when no one shows up. All you get is grunts of pain and that's it. What the fuck? How do they get to each other? I'm not understanding the logistics. This is so sad, man. I used to do agricultural work, alone in a field for 10 hours a day kinda thing. The pure amount of times I heard the sound of running and snapped up to see literally nothing there was horrific. I was convinced it was surely animals between the trees for a while, but the weirdest moment was when I heard it loudly from a row of trees next to me and immediately ducked under to see the feet of whatever animal was running by, and there was absolutely nothing. I remember trying to stay calm and walking really fast to the toilet block and sitting in there for a good long while before I came back. I never thought I'd be so freaked out in the daytime, but there wasn't a soul nearby for quite a way and it really amped up my imagination. As a prior deer hunter, I can tell you that the thundering noises from a squirrel can sound like a herd of elephants when out in the woods while all is still and quiet. I've worked in Canada's north for a few years now in oil and gas. It's pretty creepy when during night shift you realize a moose has just been standing at the tree line staring you down for an unknown length of time. Or finding bear tracks crossing the tracks you just made 5 minutes ago. Honestly, the silence of a snowy forest in the dead of night 100s of km away from anything is pretty spooky. When your only contact to the outside world is a radio channel nobody's listening to, you feel pretty alone. Moose are freaky, man. Especially the screams. Those things mess you up. Edit. My top comment of all time is about moose screaming yay. I know a forest ranger who regularly stays at these remote cabin fire tower outposts. She'll wake up in the morning and look out the window to soak in the landscape only to see influencers posing for photos. In my brief stint as a rural health nurse, I was quite unnerved by how many of the families I worked with still practiced ritual animal sacrifice, even though on paper they identify as Catholic. I was a field geologist in the outback about 12 hours north of Adelaide. One day I was driving the truck and saw what looked like a flagpole sticking up in the middle of nowhere. I wasn't anywhere near a farm or anywhere else that people would be, so I decided to drive over and check it out. It was a dead dog fully impaled on a spike, like, from butt to mouth. Took some pictures and had my boss call the cops, but for the rest of the assignment I was freaked out that some maniac was out there with me. Edit. I don't know if it was a domestic dog or a dingo or something. It was pretty well decayed when I found it. Second edit. I'm not sharing the pictures. Please stop asking. Was this out near Kubapedi? Fucking weirdos up there, I tell ya. I went on a far-sicking road trip and on my way up, there was a guy rolling around on the road in 46-degree heat. Just casually rolling. On the road. Edit. It's Celsius not Fahrenheit. It was near Oxby Downs. That whole area is strange. Working late at night on a remote mine site. Changing out a switch in a substation on the edge of the pit. Just me and a quiet room full of gently humming transformers. I finish up and head for the door and I see 3 pairs of red eyes staring through the window. Nothing else visible. Just blackness and 3 sets of red eyes. Turns out goat's eyes reflect red at night, and they like staring in windows. Merchant seaman here. Nothing particularly creepy. Most of the time you're too focused on not hitting anything, getting position fixes, updating logbooks, etc. to really think about paranormal or spoopy shit. But the closest thing to creepy I've experienced recently has been a strange transmission over the radio. It started with a series of Morse code beeps followed by an accented female voice listing off random letters and numbers. Dunno what the fuck that was about. Edit. I should clarify, it was definitely numbers station Y, and obviously radio propagation is a thing. But this was off the Gulf of Mexico on a hot ass day. That would be a number station. They are typically used to give information via a one-time pad. Oh yeah, it definitely sounded like a numbers station. But the thing is, this was right off the coast of the US. The numbers Mason. What do they mean? Edit. Holy shit, when I commented this the op only had 100 comments. I do a lot of work out in the woods. Creepiest thing was finding some headless doves. I also found sticks arranged in circles and paint on the trees in the same spot. Not sure if it was part of a ritual or not, but that's what I saw. Edit. Okay, lots of great points that it could have been just wildlife or cats catching the doves. That's totally possible. I've seen cats do that before too. To add some more context, the type of doves found were not native to this area. It's possible they escaped or were released and had a run-in with a hungry house cat, and a painted circle of trees and sticks nearby was coincidence. Who knows? I certainly don't know what really happened, so it's all speculation. It's still the weirdest, creepiest thing I've ever found. I've found altars, painted trees, pentagrams laid out in the dirt, pentagrams made from string between trees. I don't care if you want to pray to Beelzebub or whatever the fuck shit you got going on. Just don't litter and destroy wildlife. I've been fishing out in the Gulf of Mexico where they have some oil rigs. This rig wasn't being used, from what we knew, so we would get pretty close to it to fish for red snapper. While we were out there, we could have sworn we heard screams of a woman over and over. It was some shit, but the explanation was the wind making the noises as it blew through the rig. Well, That's what we were told, but it totally creeped us the fuck out. Rigs can make pretty scary noises. I had some shifts on a satellite platform and the wind would make scary noises at night. I work as a polar bear guard, as in, I escort people across tundra and mountains and protect them from polar bears. I once saw a snowman totem with reindeer antlers coming out of his head. It was deformed, full of bullet holes and rather creepy. Even knowing only a little about polar bears, that sounds like it can be a terrifying job. What was your closest call with a polar bear? I'm not sure if this counts because it's a farm, but when you live on a farm you work on a farm, so I guess I'll tell it. I grew up on a farm and in high school used to mess with my friends by hiding and making them find me. One night my friend was over and we were waiting on this other guy. We see him pull up, so we take off running to hide. It's funny because they have to wander around somewhere they're unfamiliar with or go ask my parents and be told too bad you'll have to find her. It's like forced hide and seek. Anyway, this one night I saw my friend hide in one building while I ran for the trees. I was hiding under some bushes and heard breathing, like human breathing. There were no animals around. It creeped me out so bad I ran out of hiding to greet my friend. I felt so uncomfortable for the rest of the night. Sometime during the night my dad heard something and went out to investigate. In the morning he discovered that one of our cows was killed and butchered. Butchered as in people meticulously separated the meat out, or like something just started eating the cow? I used to be a delivery driver, which doesn't sound very remote because it isn't. However, I did have to deliver to some pretty remote places. One time I delivered to a trailer park just barely inside our designated delivery zone and it was very dark and poorly lit. I leave my car running and keep the headlights and inside lights on to go deliver the pizza. Upon returning to my car, I sit down in the driver's seat and look up to see a creepy old man standing less than 3 feet from my side of the car. He was just staring. It was the equivalent of a jump scare. I just started driving forward, had to do a U-turn to get out of the park. When I turned around the man was standing in the middle of the road, so I freaked out for a second before speeding around him only to watch him attempt to chase my car out of the trailer park. I put in my 2 weeks after that. Damn creepy as hell. Did you tell your co-workers about it? I was serving as a fireman for my nation's compulsory national service. Once, we were called into the forest to retrieve a body who was found hanging on a noose, deep along one of the running trails. He had apparently committed suicide by hanging himself off a tree. Was found by a few morning joggers. What's creepy was, we found a straw doll at the foot of the tree. It was stabbed with a few red bobby pins in the head, facial area, and there was also an unknown talisman that was half burned where the doll was sitting. When we took the body down, we had to carry him a few kilometers out of the forest, and halfway along the journey, a previously unnoticed wound on his face started bleeding. One of my men swore that it was bleeding from the same spot as where the bobby pin was stuck on the doll, but we could not confirm it as we left the doll where his body was found for the police. Passed the body to the paramedics and booked our way out of the area. Edit. Wow, thank you for the upvotes and the award. Glad that everyone enjoyed the story. Yes, this happened in Southeast Asia, where almost all religion exists here.